All right, Rangers, so we're back here with the Caleb's snowboard. We need to affix the sidewalls, so we use the CNC to cut out the shape, and we're going to glue these on, epoxy these on. And so I've got a wood board underneath here, and so we can keep it flat to the bottom, and then we'll put a couple clamps like this across the top to kind of pull it in and let that epoxy set up for the next day or so. Next step, attach sidewalls. The ends are going to get a tip filler, which goes on the end of the last like 3 or 4 inches. And so we really only need to get contact onto the core about this far. Then we're going to eventually cut that off and use the tip filler in the end for each side. That's why the ends look a little bit different. But I try to get it up as far as I possibly can. All right, so just a handful of clamps there to get this done. So those are all epoxied on, so like I said, we'll wait till tomorrow and we'll pull those off, and then he can do his art on it. This is the tip filler that we put on the end, and it's 2 millimeters thick, just like the end of the core. And so we find a nice spot where it makes sense, and we cut them off, and we use this for each of the tail and nose curl. Alright, so we are pulling this out of the clamps today, all like 100 clamps, and we will kind of cut this off right about here. The tip filler will go in on the end, and then he can do his paint and art and whatever else he wants to do on this board. This is about ready for him to come pick up. Alright, so I want to draw a nice perpendicular line so I can cut this nice and evenly, and so I'm going to line my square up with one of the grain lines of the wood, and then shoot a line across here where I'm going to hit both of those pieces of sidewall, and then I can attach the tip filler. So I used 2 rulers, straight edge and a square, and got a line for this side. Now I'll come over and do this side. Now these are super thin, so they're not attached by very much, so I want to be careful with that. And I'm going to cut across here, and then I'm going to sand up to my pencil line. I'm going to do that with both edges. The bandsaw will be the least abrasive. Since it's so thin, I want to go really careful, and so I'll use the bandsaw to cut both sides and then sand up to the line. So now on the edge belt sander, we're going to sand that nice and clean and true as best we can. The belt's going to be running this way. You can see the arrow, and so it's going to put a lot of tension on this side. So we got to be real careful that we don't blow those epoxy joints out. There it is. So we just needed to get parallel to our line and make a nice clean edge up here, and so that tip filler just goes up nice each side. So I just went down to the joiner and I used that to make a perfect edge here, even better than sanding. And so I did that to both sides of the tip filler, and so now we're going to set that up here next to the end of the core, and we got a perfect joint. And so now we got to save about 9 inches we want to add to each side, and that'll make our tip and our tail for our snowboard. So I've got the core on top of the base, and I need about 7.5 inches, so I'm going to go maybe 8.5, give myself a little extra for both tip fillers. Alright, so tip fillers are cut, sidewalls are attached, he's ready to do art or paint or whatever he wants to do on this thing, and then we make a big sandwich and put it in our mold.